What's up, everybody? Nate Sarantino here, back with another episode of the Guide Spirits podcast. And today with me, I have a good friend, Zackarian. Introduce yourself, Zach.
How we doing?
I met Zach back in 2021, sometime in July, was it?
Something around there, summertime.
And I met him in Wellfleet, Massachusetts, on the Cape. If you're familiar with the area, it was on the pier, and he just happened to see my car, and I was eating dinner out there,
hmm
and we this started talking about cars, and then one thing led to another, and we met up later that night, and ever since we have become really good friends. Now I'm out here on a business trip in Arizona, and I decided to meet up with him, and here we are.
Here we are.
So, what have you been up to lately?
Nothing. Moved out here early or late January this year. It's been about 6, 7 months now I've been here. Moved all the way from Rhode Island. I'm going to school here, working, trying to make it happen.
Nice. Well, I came out here for a business trip,
hmm
and I've told you a lot about it, but let me tell the people. So as you all know, I have a company called 3M's Coaching, 3M's Coaching Services to be exact. And we do mentality, mindset, and mindfulness coaching. And I am at the point in my career or in my building my company where I decided going to Grant Cardone's 10X boot camp would be a great place to start when it comes to learning more about how to run my business and what it takes to build my business up. So I came out here and flew from Boston, Massachusetts down to Phoenix, Arizona, and Zach was kind enough to let me stay with him just outside of the city. And I've been here since Thursday. It's now Sunday, and we decided that we would make some good content for you guys. So, Zach, I just want to talk to you about like some of the things about my company, and it will just like inform the people about what I'm doing, because I still haven't made a podcast about it, and I've talked a lot about like self-help, and I've included like parts and bits of what I do as a company, like from mentality and what mindfulness means to me, like growth mindset, wins and losses, all different aspects of the Hermetic principles. But I've never really just talked about the company as a whole. And I'm gonna eventually, as like pretty much as of today, Zach is gonna help me with sales, and we when talking about like what being a salesman of this company would look like. And it comes down to like spreading the message or spreading the vision that is that like we are trying to create a world of like love that is abundant to all. Everyone deserves to feel abundance of love. Everyone deserves to have knowledge that is easily accessible, whether that be you have to pay a little bit for it, like you are paying for the coaching, or whether that be you are getting it for free off the internet. The issue is a lot of times it takes a lot longer for you to find it all on your own than it does for someone to neaten it all up and give it in bite-sized chunks, and then appropriately help you integrate it into your life. And that's like the key to the company. That's why 3M's is so special, with everything from hermetic principles, the law of balance and law of truth, to meditation, mindfulness, and the reasoning like deontology, consequentialism, and innate goodness of choices and why you do the things you do. Everything matters. Have I ever talked to you about deontology?
No, you haven't.
So deontology is like it's a system of making choices based on a set of moral guidelines, and it's so strict that like if you were to like say you were not allowed to steal and you just couldn't steal no matter what, but it came to the point where like you were going to die, like you were starving to death, and there was that apple that was just sitting there, but someone else owned that apple, and you knew if you took it, like you would get in trouble, like you just couldn't, like it's against your moral code internally,
Mhm.
but you took that apple. That's not taking that apple is the ontology. You stick to your code no matter what.
Yeah.
And then consequentialism is making the choice based on the consequence of the choice.
So like weighing
Yeah,
risk
weighing
versus reward.
exactly.
Okay.
And so that's like what I want to talk about when it comes to mindfulness is like when you're making choices, why are you making the choices you're making? How deep do you go into the reasoning behind your choice? Or do you just make choices because they feel good? Like, I mean, the last one that I added, which after deontology and consequentialism, is innate goodness. And I really love this term. To something that's innate is like you do it out of like nature, like you just do it because you do it. And when you make choices that are to like help other people, like why do you do that? Like what do you think?
I mean, just helping other people feels good. And just knowing or hoping that if you're in that same spot, someone would help you as you're helping the other person. It's
Yeah.
a big part of at least how I see things, where I always like to, think out of it like myself in other people's shoes. Think like, oh, if I were them, I'd be doing the same stuff. So
Mm,
people are people. No one is innately evil or, you know, everyone needs help sometimes and they deserve that as you would want someone to help you if you were, going through it.
yeah. Something you always say to me is you have this quote that goes like, if I were you, I'd do the
Same
same
thing.
thing.
Yeah, I
What does that
mean,
mean?
so that's something I picked up over the last 2, 3 years, and it's really changed my mindset on life and relationships and communication in general. Um, where like if someone were to do something or say something that puts a bad taste in your mouth or makes you think they're a bad person, just realize in reality, if you were in their shoes, if you'd lived their life up to that moment, you would have made the same choice, you would have said the same thing. So there's no need to be angry at them, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, and everyone, it's that it comes back to like literally one of the podcasts that is coming out this week. I haven't decided if this one comes out before or after yet. But it's about everyone's their own person. We're all individuals and we're
Mhm.
all on our own journey. And it comes down to like you can't judge anyone because you're not in their shoes. Like
Mhm.
if you were them, you would have done the same thing. It's as simple as that. It's like you can't like truly put yourself in someone else's shoes without being them. And once you are them, you would do the same thing. That's how it goes. And I think that's a great mindset to have.
Oh
I
yeah.
I would love to like implement that into my coaching because it helps you be a lot more empathetic and a lot more compassionate towards
Oh
others.
yeah. It's a lot more patient in general.
Oh,
Like
without a doubt.
I apply it to a lot of my, especially like romantic relationships, where I was talking to a girl recently, things were going good. Out of the blue, she just didn't want the labels, and I told her, I'm either in your life or I'm not, and we decided to take a break from everything.
Hmm.
And old me would have been upset at that, be like, "Oh, this girl's a B word," and like I would have gone on all incel in my mind about everything. But with that understanding that if I was in her shoes, I would have done the same thing. It puts everything into perspective for me. It makes me a lot more patient and a lot more
Forgiving.
forgiving and open to that shit.
Change.
Yeah, change.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my God. It's like it sounds like it makes life a lot easier.
Oh
And
yeah.
like the whole point of like this like mindset and like the reason I made 3Ms like is basically mental health in a nutshell, but making life as easy as you can possibly make it because we all go through like really hard times. Like no matter who you are, where you're from, or what your situation is, like you could be born like from billionaire like family to like scum family, like you're like lower class. Like I mean, I was born in Novokuznik, Russia, and I was put up for adoption at like 1.5 years old. Like, if I wasn't adopted, I would have gone into the Russian army or the military come 18 years old.
Hmm.
I was fortunate enough to get adopted by a upper middle class family who happened to be from the United States that also happened to live in a very nice area of New Hampshire that was up and coming, and I was fortunate to go to the best school in New Hampshire for high school every single year, and I had all these great things come to me, and it really puts in perspective that like everyone's on their own journey and you don't know what people are going through. You don't see what they see because you're not supposed to. You're on your own journey. You're supposed to focus on you, and it's good to understand other people's perspectives, to see the bigger picture and to like respect other people's opinions.
Hmm.
But if you don't focus on your own journey, you're not going to grow. Like you gotta look in and not always be looking out. If you look out too much, you're not gonna grow internally. And change happens on the inside. J. Cole has a great song about it. It's just like the only way to change is to like change yourself. It's just like it's just how it goes. It's how you change other people is to change yourself first.
Oh yeah, and I mean, building on top of that, the whole saying of, if I were in your shoes and being doing the same thing doesn't mean to let people like walk all over you or just, take all the shtick they give you. Like God forbid you were in a situation where your partner wanted an open relationship. Sure, if you were in their shoes, you'd want the same thing. You'd asking the same thing of yourself, but that doesn't mean you have to,
Accept it.
accept it and just be like, okay, if that's what you want, then we'll make it happen. Put up your walls, put up your boundaries, and don't let people cross them just because oh, if I was in your shoes, I'd be doing the same thing.
Oh, I 100% see that. And like boundaries are so important in today's world, and especially when it comes to like your mental health, that it always is like having boundaries can be the difference between going insane over another man or woman or
Hmm.
whatever for the matter of the fact, or it can be the difference between having a great life with a loving significant other and maybe even sprouting a couple children, whether they be through your own or through adoption. Whatever it may be, like you can make it happen, but it is like you have to understand everyone's gonna have a different perspective and people are gonna come from different things, and you just have to know that if you were them, you wouldn't know any different. Like if you were truly in their shoes, you would be doing the same thing.
Yeah, and that's a big point of you. Like you were saying, you have to focus on yourself
Hmm.
because realistically, only a few people in the world really care about you. Everyone else is just out for themselves. I have a roommate who's been dealing with like depression and stress and all that. And he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to a therapist and see what they say." Now, like therapists are good if you're gonna just talk it out, but a lot of the times you'll get put on drugs, and a therapist only makes money when you go and see them. Now, if they make you better, you don't go see them. They make commission off what they put you on. So everyone in this world, except for maybe like your family and like a few close friends and people you have real bond with, are only looking out for themselves and their own interests.
Yeah, literally, literally, you couldn't have said it better. And like everyone's looking for like acknowledgement. Everyone deserves to be acknowledged, and the difference between like acknowledgement and like true like understanding is where like you find like that like empathy and compassion, and like you have to be able to look at someone's situation and not just like see it from their eyes, but this like empathize with them.
Mhm.
I always think of like the stories of like Jesus, and he would literally like he would cry with people just like he like just to feel what they are feeling, to show like that empathy of like wow, you just lost someone. I'm gonna come down with you. Like, I'm not gonna let you go down on your own. Like, I'll be there with you the whole time. Like, I'll walk you through it. Like, just as like God would walk with him, like he would walk with his people. And I think that's why he was always known as the bridge. And it's just like that idea that you always have to be like sympathetic and empathetic with people because no matter what situation you're going through, good or bad, it's good to like if someone's in a the same goes for like if someone just like say for me, I got a couple people who are like literally about to like sign on to the course today. Like they were like, yeah, I'd buy this like right now. I'm like, hold up. It doesn't launch till September. And they're like, sounds good. And it's like I'm so excited. I'm exuberant right now. And when it comes down to it, you have to be able to feel that energy of excitement just as much as you can feel that energy of like, oh, I just lost a loved one, such as your mother or your father. It's like both. You have to be able to go up with them and down with them. And if you can walk that path, it's going to make you such a better person when it comes to relationships and being able to connect with those around you.
Hmm.
You're going to like that's like the power of like a therapist like really like if a therapist can do that stuff like they that's how they're actually going to be able to help the person
Oh yeah.
because you have to be able to walk not in their shoes but next to them because you're never going to see it how they see it but you can see it from the same area and you can help them back up but you can't just tell them to get up. It's not gonna work. You're
Yeah.
like it's like you don't just tell a little kid how to walk. Like you kind of show them what to do and you walk with them. They look at your footsteps moving and then they repeat monkey see, monkey do. It's the whole thing.
It's
Like
the whole fish analogy, like if you
literally.
give a man a fish, he eats for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime.
Oh, without a doubt. So good. So well said.
No, and like definitely being that person that people can rely on in good times and bad. There's definitely an overabundance of people that are kind of fake or don't really have your best intentions in mind. And when you're up, they're right next to you, congratulating you, living it up with you. But when you're down, suddenly they're nowhere to be seen.
Oh,
And
literally.
you have to be the change you want to see. So you have to be that person that people can rely on no matter what. And slowly but surely everyone will be on the same energy, the same vibe, and the community will thank you.
Oh, without a doubt. And like bringing it to community is such a great place to like bring it to. Community is like the key. And if you can relate to like everyone in your community by like being able to like empathize with them, whether it be good or bad, it's gonna make you a much more likable person and much like never mind like tolerable. Like this is like people are gonna like really become fond of you in their relationships and they're gonna want you to be around them because you always bring out the good in them, you always bring them up even if they're already up. When they are so high up, they're like, wow, like let's get even higher, like let's make it even better. Like we
Hmm.
can you can never be like it's like you just want to if you're going to push your limits you might as well see how good you can make it and you have to understand you're going to have downs. It's the law of rhythm. Everything that goes up must come down but everything that goes down must come up.
Oh yeah.
And it's just riding the waves and using the momentum that you hit on your downs to bring you up higher. And when you go up, bringing people up with you, I think that's the best way to do it. And you have a whole team of people who you're bringing up. You got like for me, I have Zach, my salesman here, and then I have my business partner Lissy, and it's basically us three right now in 3M's coaching, and we're gonna start taking over as soon as possible. And it's just like from the coaching industry in the shape of my mental health and mindset coaching to like eventually is going to turn into life coaching and it's going to be the neuropsilocybin co. It's going to be all these great companies that help mental health in every shape and form.
Hmm.
And that's the idea, is to like build a team, and then your team becomes a community, and you have the culture of like that integration of like happiness and love and abundance and joy, and spreading the good vibes that are needed for like people to like want to like to work for you more than you even want them to work for you, because they love what you're doing and they love the culture that your company or your community represents. When you go to a place that you love, like you go there and you just like you vibe out. You're this like, wow, this is so great. Like this is my place. Like these are my people. Like this is my tribe.
Hmm.
That's like there's no better feeling.
Oh yeah, and community doesn't always mean like a village or a town. It can just be like your small group of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people. I mean, speaking as a man, because I know no other existence. There's not many people we can rely on with like how we feel and our emotions. And it's even hard if we have your small group of guy friends. It's hard to confide in them, as like but if your friend was going through something, you'd want them to talk to you, because Lord knows the suicide rate for men and the suicide rate in general is too high.
Oh,
And
without a doubt.
I realize, I mean, within like myself, it is hard for me to talk to my guy friends or talk to anybody about what I'm going through. But I try to push myself, because if you don't lean on someone, how do you expect them to lean on you in hard times as well? Like you got to show weakness first, and then they'll be like, okay, he's willing to open up and share, and maybe I'm going through something. Maybe I should share it to him and see what his take is on it, or maybe I can just talk to him and he'll listen to me and be someone to vent to.
Literally. I think it all comes down to being real. And
Yeah,
not this like
putting up a
everyone
boundary, putting up a
yeah,
face.
everyone's afraid to be themselves and like show like who they truly are, show their true colors, because like you're scared people aren't gonna like you, or it's like that whole like fear factor of like whatever you are, whatever you're going through, like no one can relate, like and no one's been through anything similar to this.
Hmm.
And you're right, no one has gone through the same thing, but there are people who can relate, and there are people who can help you. They, and like I said earlier, they'll come down to your level and help you back up. Like you gotta trust the process, and you gotta trust the homies and the family and the friends that you have to help you out when you're down, because you don't really have anyone when you're down. I've been at the point of like suicide so many times in my life. Like no worse than this. I talked briefly about this on my website, but when I was smoking cigarettes, like I was trying to die, and then I was living for the cigarettes, but the cigarettes were killing me. It's all I would do. Like I literally for 2 days, all I did, like, and I mean 2 days, all I did was drink wine and smoke cigarettes. And what that does to the body, it kills it quickly. And when it comes down to it, you will, when you're on your deathbed and you're like, shit, like, I wish I didn't do that. Like, I wish this, I wish that. That's like when I was like, I called one of my close friends. We had a very great phone call, and it like, when you got to be able to like talk to people. Sometimes you need that hand up, and like it was that one hand up, and it saved my life. And I don't say who it was for a reason, because he doesn't want his name out there, but he knows who he is. And I hope you are listening to this, because you really did save me, bro.
Yeah, and I'm sure he rather the call from you than a call from your parents saying where the funeral was.
Oh my God, imagine, dude, I can't literally like that. That's like the worst part. Like no one wants to get that call, and like that's what this whole like the whole journey of like my mental health and like me overcoming addictions, like the cigarette story right there, me coming overcoming years of vaping from 13 to to 19 when I almost died, and then quitting, and then like the one time I tried vaping again after I almost died again that night, and I was like, shit, like I definitely can't do this again. Like if I do, like I bet I don't make it, and I haven't done it since. And that was like last October. I think it was Halloween night that night. Crazy stuff. And you realize like there's certain people who are here to help you, and there's certain people who are here to not. Like I don't think anyone's truly here to hurt you. I think some people bring you up, and some people they don't bring you down. They stay where they're at, and you go down to their level.
Yeah.
And like you have a choice to make whether you go down to that level or you bring them up. But if you're not going to be able to bring them up, leave them where they are. Because
Mhm.
some people are happy being at the bottom.
Some people like being negative, and that's something I've also noticed is like, especially at work or in school, or just even in my personal life, a lot of people almost bring negativity like upon themselves because I feel like they feel safer in that, and they like the attention that talking badly about their own life gets them.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between confiding in someone and just complaining about negative things in your life that you can't change.
Oh, so well said. And I like that like false sense of security. It's like putting up a wall.
Yep.
And I feel like I used to do it as a kid. Like I would put up a wall. Like I just like and my wall was like violence and anger. Excuse
Oh
me.
yeah,
And
we all put up something to protect our ego,
yep.
you know? And as soon as you realize that that's not like a real part of you and that you're just a person just like everyone else, the quicker you can, relate to your community or be that person that people want to, be with and go up with.
Literally, it's like that idea, like you gotta like, well, especially at my company at 3Ms and at like the Neuropsilocybin Co. 963 Lifestyles, all of like my companies, like we only allow people to enter if they're gonna leave their ego at the door and if they're gonna become a part of the team.
Mhm.
It's like it's cliche, but there is truly no I in team. Like whether you're the leader of the team as the quote unquote captain, or you're like literally like you're coaching your team, like you're building them up so everyone's coaches, and then and then the people who are your clients start becoming your team, and then you coach your teams until they're so good they also become coaches. It's all like it's about building your customers into the community that they like what they did so much that they want to join you and do it
Help other
too.
people too.
Yeah, like that's the whole goal of like the entire mental health industry for me is to make it so like so like incredibly experiential. Like it's just like the best thing since like life itself.
Yeah.
And like you love it so much now that you think everyone needs to get this, that you are committed and like driven to like spread the message of like being fearless. And when I say fearless, I mean the only thing you fear is not living life to the fullest.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, picking apart the whole, leave your ego at the door and being selfless idea, um, that is true to a certain level, but, in your life, as in anything, there has to be balance. You have to be selfless, but also keep yourself in mind. Because again, this might sound, like I'm on, like playing devil's advocate, but no one is really out for you. Everyone is usually against you. I'm not saying like everyone, but like, especially like the government, and I mean just people in your daily life are not they don't necessarily not want the best for you, but they are also just looking out for themselves and whatever they can do to get ahead, they're gonna do.
I see you on that one exactly, bro. Like literally, the whole thing about like people like not really like being on your side, but like they're like it's like they'll be
They'll be on your side when it's convenient for them.
oh yes, so well said. They like it's that idea like, when things are good, everyone's cheering for you, and then like second shit drops, like it's like they're gone. And I'm talking to my friend Philip. I met him on this business trip, and he actually worked at the resort. He wasn't even one of the people who were going. So like I just like started talking to one of the workers and like made friends with him, and he ended up like giving me a ride to my friend Zach's house when I needed the chance, like or when I needed the ride, and he was nice enough to give me the ride, and we were just sort of shooting it while I'm like driving here. It's like a half-hour ride, and we're talking about like money and like what happens when you actually have a lot of money, and what we got to is like the idea that people are going to be in your life when you have money, and then the money disappears, and then the fake ones disappear. They're only there for the money, and the second they stop getting help, and the second they stop getting it, like they disappear like flies. And
Well, not even, just the money, but like something that comes to mind when talking about this is the Me Too movement. And, not saying that all of it's, fake or whatever. Like, so there's definitely some situations which were warranted, but, in a case where it was like a false accusation, like as soon as like you see a famous person, get accused of some stuff, all of their friends are suddenly bashing them. Like there's no one on their side anymore. Like their public image and just their ego is more important than being for that person, like being there for that person when they need it the most. They'd rather save themselves and make themselves look good in the public eye than help a friend out when they need it or be there for them when no one else believes them.
wow, so sad, so well said. Like it's really crazy how like people's public image and like your reputation is like very valuable in today's society. And that's why like especially with like my mindfulness like portion of the course, like I go over the idea that every decision is like critical to the next. And like you always have to have the future in mind, but you must be living in the moment, and you should only learn from the past. Never live in it, but learn. Learn from the past, live in the moment, look towards the future.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't get it fucked up. Like it's the only way to go about life.
Yeah.
And when you start it really like exploiting this idea, you see yourself moving in either a good direction or bad direction based on the choices you are making in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are making poor choices.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, I feel like, is again more focused on their public image and not being their true self. And I don't know the exact quote, but Jim Carrey said something along the lines of, like when you're depressed, that's your body telling you, I don't want to play this character anymore.
I think I heard it that exact way, by the way.
No, and that's such an important thing because a lot of people nowadays, especially, are going through this depression because of social media and trying to control everything about their public image and trying to be someone or something that they're not. And that's just it's hard on your mental state and even on your body if you're doing that. Like I realized this a couple years ago. Like right after COVID. And ever since then, just me being my like actual self and not trying to put up that facade or that mask that I was wearing, I'm so much happier and get through days so much easier than I used to.
I feel you on that. I feel you on that. It's like when I first started my like coaching journey, and I was like being a fitness coach, and it was like it felt like I was just like forcing it so hard. Like I came out of the gate hot, but like once after the first month I was like it was just like, why am I doing this? And I kept asking myself that for 2 months. And then finally I said, I've had enough. I'm not gonna make myself do something I don't want to do.
Mhm.
This isn't what I was meant for. And you have to realize that like when you're working for someone else, you're gonna think like this isn't what I was meant for, and you have to trust your intuition. There's billions of different jobs. I believe that three people can work the exact same job, and if it's three people divided by 8 billion, that leaves you with at least 2 billion. So what does that say? There are at least 2 billion jobs that you could try before finding the right one.
Oh yeah.
Most of the time, it's not going to take that long. I very much so believe that you are purposely set up on a certain path from the second you are born to the moment that you die for a reason. Everything happens for a reason, and you make the choices that you make for a reason. And when it comes down to it, you have to be aware of your decisions. And something I learned in these last 3 days was your choices, and what you do has to be A, legal, B, moral, 3, ethical, and 4, compliant. That's how you make a business. If it's missing one of those, you're gonna run into trouble. And that's a direct quote from Brandon Dawson. And when it comes down to it, you really need to focus on the moral and ethical side of a business. If you are deceiving or just dead straight lying to your clients or your customers in any way, it's gonna catch up to you.
Hmm.
And the same goes for like if you falsely accuse people of things, or whether it be from rape and sexual assault to even setting up someone for a maybe a murder, or even if it's as simple as like I don't know, you go to the store and you just start taking food. Like it's like you justification is a very hard thing to do. I went through this scenario one day where I went to buy a bunch of chicken from Market Basket up in New Hampshire. I'm I have 6 packages of chicken, all with a manager special on them. It's the day before they expire or a couple days, and one of them has a hole in it. They say I can't buy it, but I know for a fact that they can't sell it, which means they're gonna throw it away.
Hmm.
And they say, oh, you can go get another one. I grab another one. It's 2 pounds of organic like pasture raised chicken. I'm like, all right. They put it in a plastic bag. I put all the other chicken in my bag, and I say, "What are you gonna do with it?" She's like, "The manager said we can't sell it, and yeah, that's it." I'm like, "All right, let me go talk to your manager." She hands me the chicken, and I just walk out the door with the chicken in my hand.
Yeah.
And I was just like, why am I gonna let you throw this away? Like, I know you're not gonna sell it. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna waste it and throw it away.
Hmm.
I mean, we had Jamaicans come and take the bass heads from the striped bass when I worked at the fish market. We had people who would take the halibut carcasses and different fish carcasses like salmon, or whether it's some haddock or any kind of all these different carcasses that were like they looked heinous, and they would use them for their soup, or they would cook they like the bass heads, they were so crazy, but and some of them would be like 30 pounds or something, and they would take them and they'd make soup out of them, and they were just going to be thrown in the trash and go to the dump. But what do you know? It was used, and it wasn't food waste.
Yeah.
This is like the chicken that I took was about to expire. They wouldn't have been able to sell it either way. And I questioned this action for hours after. I was debating whether it was a good choice or a wrong choice. I kept trying to justify why it was good. And I kept telling myself, well, it wasn't my property and it was theirs. They had the right to do what they wanted to do with it. But when you hit the next tier of morality, you see that food waste is one of the biggest issues in this world, and that people who are starving to death would more than likely steal some chicken, even if it was expired and it was rolling on the floor. Never mind, there was just a tiny tear in the packaging, and it was literally like top of the line chicken that you can buy at a grocery store.
Oh yeah, and I mean, food waste is such a huge problem in America nowadays, which to
Hmm.
me is hilarious and ironic because the people that, occupied this continent before we came here, one of their huge ideals was, using every part of the animal, not letting anything go to waste. And just the fact, like the way that we've, come so far from that when, you know, people ordering way too much food at restaurants and just throwing it all out is just crazy to me. Like there's people all over the world that are hungry and need food, and we're, you know, treating it like it's air.
Literally. What it all comes down to, and this is the most important part, and this is why I tie up my entire course with it. It's mindfulness. The mentality is a great way to introduce you looking at the world through the lens of the Hermetic principles, law of balance, as we talked about just a couple minutes ago,
Mhm.
and the law of truth, which is at the top. You always remember the law of truth is at the top, and then you move through to mindset. Mindset is key when it comes to learning, growing, and then adopting different ways of going about life from your perspective that includes yourself and isn't just the universe itself. Next, mindfulness. The most important part when it comes to the self, being mindful of your decisions, like the whole thing with food waste, why I brought it up in the first place is like I was so critical of myself that day, and I analyzed every single thing I did and brought it down to, well, at the end of the day, like you would have done the same thing.
Hmm.
Like if you knew what I knew and how I felt, I hadn't eaten that day. I literally I had just gotten paid. I didn't eat for a whole day, and I worked hardwood flooring 3 days in a row again, and I was so hungry. I was literally starving. All I had eaten was like some fruit, like some mango and blueberries that morning, and I was like just starving. And I even told that to the lady at the cash register. I was like, I'm starving. Like, I'm so hungry. Like, please just give me this chicken. And she said, no, I can't. And I was like, that's the point. Like, imagine if it was like a homeless person. They probably would have just kicked them out of the store. I walked into the store with like 2 chains on, 3 chains on, and I'm wearing some nice clothes, and they still judge me so hard for it. Everyone has no right to judge. It's a part of that mindfulness. Like, how are you to judge someone for their actions or for how they look when you don't even understand why you do the things that you do? And if you do understand, then you should use that as a power to help others express themselves and their individuality.
Hmm.
Everyone deserves the right to express themselves how they would wish. And to be mindful of who you are, your identity is very crucial.
Hmm.
And we all are individuals. It comes back to like everyone's on their own journey. And if you're really on your own journey, no one's going to be in the same position at the same time. They might be in a similar position at a different time, but no one's gonna be going through the exact same thing at the same time. It's just like how no particle can be known exact position at exact time. It's just not possible. It's just how the Heisenberg like equation works. It's just you can't know one and know the other. One has to be unknown in order for you to know one. It's just how it goes. Like position and time are always going to be one of those things. They differ for everyone, and it's just how it goes. It's laws of the universe. It's how it works. It's just what it is. When you hit the truth, you hit the truth, and it's like a wall, but it's not even a wall. It's a cap. It's like the top of the ceiling. It's like the edge of the universe, top of the ceiling. It's like the universe is ever expanding, and so is your consciousness,
Yeah.
because you are the universe. You are one with the universe. It's all just like ever expanding, ever growing. The whole thing about mental health, you have to be aware that you are always going to be growing and evolving, and growth is a painful process. If you aren't growing, you're probably dying, and that's the truth.
Hmm.
Because nothing stays still, and you learn that when you study just basic chemistry. It's the third law of thermodynamics. Nothing is still. Only theoretically can it be a perfect crystal, and nothing's perfect.
Hmm.
And if it was perfect, it would be, I don't know, it would be pretty cool. It would be pretty cool to see, like, I mean, imagine like a diamond, right? Like the
Yeah.
most perfect diamond you've ever seen, and even that isn't perfect.
Oh yeah, nothing is ever going to be perfect. And
And
that's
that's
what,
the closest we have.
yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of people don't realize is that nothing is ever going to be perfect in your life. And I feel like a lot of people are delusional in that fact, especially with relationships. Like, not even just like romantic relationships, but relationships with other people. Like, it's never going to be perfect, you know? And I feel like a lot of the time with relationships nowadays, um, social media is such a huge thing where if, one thing goes wrong in your relationship and you have, a bunch of other girls or guys talking to you, they're gonna make it seem like they would be perfect, where in reality, no one's ever gonna be perfect for you.
Oh,
You
so
gotta
true.
pick one person and make it work.
Yeah.
And it's a big thing that my parents taught me because, they've been happily married for 30 years and, they've had their ups and downs, but they've always been by each other's side. And my dad is still gross, smacks my mom's butt. It's hilarious, but it's gross.
Really.
Um, but that's something that I feel like that's been lost with all this social media and all this stuff going on is nothing's ever going to be perfect. And the more you try to fight that, the less perfect everything's going to be.
Really. I mean, and the only way to get closer and closer to like what is quote unquote enlightenment, or like it's just like a high vibration, or like the alignment of your energy levels, of like your chakras, or like this having your aligning with your purpose, aligning with the truth, aligning with your true identity, trying to become your true self, like self actualization, like the like basically like the top of the top, like the truth, like it is what it is. You have to understand that you're never actually going to get there, because it's only theoretical, because you're never going to stop growing, because the universe is ever expanding, which means you can always become better. And what I realized, I think this is a great story, and I thought it was really funny. I heard right before everything hit the fan for Andrew Tate, him and Tristan are in Dubai, and they're talking, and they're saying like, I one of them says to the other like, man, our life is like perfect right now. It's actually too perfect. Like something's about to go wrong. Like I mean, like they have like billions, like literally like everything you could ever imagine in the world.
Hmm.
And then fast forward like 2 weeks later, they're in a Romanian jail cell that has cockroaches walking all over them while they're sleeping, with like no working plumbing and no like nothing.
Oh yeah.
They went from like driving Bugattis to like Romanian jail with cockroaches within 2 weeks.
Hmm. And I mean, what you were saying about, you know, always being able to get better is what life is really all about. Life isn't about the destination, it's about the journey.
Literally.
And if you don't, appreciate everything while it's happening, you're gonna fly through this life because Lord knows it goes by too quickly. Without living in the moment and appreciating where you are at all times, you don't really appreciate when you do become successful. You don't remember the lows that you were at to the high that you're at now, Because if, everything is high in your life and you don't have many lows, they're not really highs anymore. It's just boring. And you don't really appreciate it as much if you were struggling and then were successful.
100%. That's why, like, when people win the lottery, they normally just lose the money right away
Because
because
they
they
didn't
didn't
work
work
for
for
it.
it.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people understand that these days. Like, you gotta work for what you want. And, like, That's a big thing Grant Cardone was talking about. Like all great things require investments of time and money.
Hmm.
It's like, and I disagree more with the fact of it being money and more about it being energy because energy is the true currency.
Well, yeah.
Energy is what is transferred in every single reaction, in every single. Oh my God, yeah, that's like literally the next law of the universe, and I don't even know if it's a thing yet, but I just said it. It's like the like to improve Grant's quote. It literally is energy and time, and it's not time and money because energy is a better currency than money and energy is the currency of the universe. That's why energy is what connects spirituality and science. It's what connects all religions. It's what connects everything to the top, which is the truth.
And like kind of like reeling back to earning and working for everything that you have. If anyone's ever gone fishing or hunting, you know that cooking what you catch is so much more satisfying than just going to the supermarket or ordering takeout. There's something about
Without a doubt.
providing that and being like, I worked for this. I caught this fish, I filleted it, I cooked it, I ate it. There's just something more satisfying about that than, going to Walmart and getting pre-made chicken or whatever.
Ah, without a doubt. And like,
And that, applies not even just small stuff like that, but bigger stuff, especially with the lottery thing or just stealing. Like if you don't work for something, you're not gonna find
literally,
the happiness or satisfactory in having that.
I think that's why I still felt bad about that thing with the chicken. Like, even though I knew they were gonna throw it away, when I ate that, I like, excuse me, I had in my gut, like I felt like I was like, damn, like I didn't even, excuse me, I didn't even work for this.
Hmm.
And like even to this day, like I think about that as a lesson,
But
like internally.
and that's a huge problem nowadays. Is a lot of people our age in our generation, anywhere from 25 to 16 or who knows if after that, but no one wants to work anymore.
Oh, bro, it's gonna be so bad.
Oh
These
yeah.
younger generations, like, I mean, they're getting raised with women shaking their asses in front of them at like 3 years old. Like, I don't know how the fuck they're gonna make it through like all this stuff. Like the porn addictions right now are so bad. Like the dopamine depletion.
Well,
Like,
dopamine, nicotine, getting introduced to people at such a young age is
yep,
causing definite damage. Not
it's
but
the development of like the child's mind right now is so poor
yeah,
and it has to be addressed immediately, like I mean like tonight as we are making this addressed.
yeah, and I mean, I don't know a good thing to call it, but I mean, like snowflake syndrome is what I'm gonna pen it as. It's just insane. Everyone thinking that, oh, I'm special, which in a way you are, but really you're not.
Yeah, literally,
Everyone's
we're
like,
all just
oh, I'm gonna
humans.
make a TikTok and I'm gonna dance and I'm gonna make money from that. And no. And I mean, everyone is trying to do that. And in that, all the jobs that really need to be worked, doctors and just like plumbers, all those professions aren't being filled.
Literally, dude, there was this company there, this got a plumbing company for 20 years. This is at my convention today, I heard. And the 20 years this guy has a plumbing company, he partners with some other dude. Um, in 6 months, they made $8 million on an HVAC company.
Oh yeah, because that's
Six
such a
months,
rare thing nowadays. You
literally.
don't find many people doing it that it's worth that much money. I mean,
Especially if you're actually good at it, bro. I mean, I think I just told like so like millions of people like who are listening to this. Eventually, it's gonna be billions, and I like $8 million in 6 months. That much money would change so many people's lives.
oh yeah,
Like,
and I mean, it's not even just like HVAC. Like, I mean, I'm going to school to be a mechanic, like an automotive technician, and even that is going to be a lot of money because again, no one wants to get their hands dirty nowadays,
nope.
and no one knows anything about it. Like back in the day, it wasn't as bad because people, even if they weren't, an automotive tech, most men knew something about cars and could do
Literally,
something about their own stuff. But I
literally,
see a
bro.
lot of kids that are just like, on the side of the road with like a popped tire that don't know what the fuck to do. Like don't know how to change a spare, don't know how to plug a tire, don't know how to change their oil.
Bro, yeah, the other day I heard a story about this dude who couldn't change a tire, and he ended up having to get his car like towed to the dealership or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
A pop tire costed him like $600 or $800.
Oh yeah, and that tow is not cheap either. Like
No, literally, it's like this one thing turned into another, and it all just revolved around not like it wasn't like other things wrong with it. It was just the fact that like him wasting so many people's time
mhm.
ended up costing him like $600.
Yeah, I mean, because he could have put the donut on that tire
Literally.
and just dealt with it.
Yeah, but like, God, I didn't know how to use the freaking A-frame jack or whatever, like the diamond, dude. Like,
it's not that hard.
literally,
People
bro.
don't
It's
want
like,
to try to figure it out. They're always like, "Oh no, it's too hard. I'll just have someone else deal with it." That's a lot of the times what I hear. Whereas me, I work as a porter, which means I'm driving a lot. I drove up to Flagstaff from Avondale, and people who aren't from Arizona, that's a 2-hour drive. Drove up there just fine. Was driving back, and one of the dealership's loaners hit a pothole, popped a tire, had to pull off on the side of the road, put the donut on, limped it to a tire shop where they told me they don't have anything that fit, and then I proceeded to drive it 150 miles back to the dealership on the donut in this big SUV. How many people my age would have just called the boss and be like, "Nope, not doing that. Tow it." It's insane. And him seeing that I was willing to do that, and I had the mental fortitude and know how to just deal with it, got me in my opinion his good graces.
literally, bro, dude, that's what happens. It's like yesterday, a couple days ago, I left my wallet and phone in a lift, and I didn't have it for a whole day, and I got stuck in downtown Phoenix, Arizona, for a whole day with no money, no phone, and no way of contacting anyone besides my laptop. I ended up meeting some dude. He gave me 3 coconut waters. Thank God, because there was 100, it was 110 plus
Yeah.
degrees outside. And I had no phone and no water, had barely any food and no money. I was like just stuck.
And how did
And
that work?
literally, like, and know how it worked out? I end up walking into a restaurant. I asked to use their phone. I somehow managed to memorize my friend's phone number the night before. And then I call his phone. I'm like, yo, bro, like, I'm stuck here. Like, I just can't do anything. And he's like, yeah, I don't get out of work till 4. Like, I can't really help you. Like, there's nothing I can do. Like, I gotta be here. Like, I'm like, all right, I guess I'm gonna figure it out. Like, there's nothing I can do. I'm like, I'm stuck here. Like, I literally can't do anything. I go to a coffee shop. I would do some work on my laptop, make some Instagram posts, leave the coffee shop, and go to a hotel. I sit there for a while. I'm there for like an hour, just like chilling, watching TV, sitting on like one of the couches. And then finally some security person comes over to me and he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to leave." I'm like, "You're kidding me, right?" And she's like, "Nah, like I'm like, it's like 100 something degrees outside." She's like, "Nah, I really don't care." I'm like, I don't have any water or like anything, right? And she's like, "It doesn't matter. You have to leave." And I'm just like, whatever, like, fine, be that way. And she walks over to talk to another security guard. And when I walk out the door, the last thing I said to her was, "Thank you for being nice about it." Cause she wasn't an asshole. Like, she literally, this was like doing her job. And she could have like grabbed my fucking hand and been like walked me to the door.
Yeah.
Like, and once again, I think the difference between me wearing 3 chains, wearing my nice clothes that I was gonna wear to this convention that I paid over $1,000 to go to, would have, it's like people judging you on your appearance is like without a doubt one of the things that was going on in her mind. And when I said thank you for being nice about it, she looked at me and it's like she didn't even believe I said it.
Oh yeah, because that's such a rare thing nowadays. People.
I think she thought I was being sarcastic.
Oh yeah, because no one really is genuinely nice anymore, and that's something that I really try to focus on. Is just being nice to strangers. Like even if they're rude to you, Like kill them with kindness. That's something my mom has always taught me.
Oh, so true. Me as well, though. Me as well.
And when the thing is, when someone is yelling at you or being rude to you and you're nice back, it confuses them because they're so used to getting a reaction out of the person they're talking to, and then it's a yelling match and everyone's being rude to each other. So when you're nice,
What do we?
it throws them for a loop, you know?
I got the goosebumps after I said it to her because her energy changed so much. Like she and this other security guard watched me pack up my bag, and they then when I said that, she like I literally was like, wow, like she was like, wow, and I was just like, whoa.
Well, yeah, because
Like
I imagine they're so used to like if they do have to kick people out, they're fought and yelled at and yada
literally,
yada. But you were like, okay, I understand you're doing your job. If I was in your shoes, I'd be doing the same thing.
literally, like that's what it comes down to.
Everything comes back around to that. I've noticed.
Dude, it's crazy like how like the same things it always comes down to. It's kind of this how like the universe works, I guess.
Hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, and that's just such a big ideal, and people control a lot of the energy and everything in the universe. So it's like treating people like that makes a huge difference in everybody's lives. Um, and that's just such an important thing to learn and to implement into your life. That
Literally,
oh yeah, you know,
literally, bro. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Um, yeah, we should get our final words in, and then I think we're gonna end this.
yeah.
You got anything to like leave them with? Anything you want to shout out or anything? It's whatever.
Nothing to shout out, but something I want to leave with. What we've been talking about this entire time. The one sentence I live by is if you were in their shoes, you'd be doing the same thing, and that's something I believe a lot of people should start practicing and integrating in their lives. And I guarantee you'll notice a difference on how other people feel about you, and even how you feel about other people.
Yeah, I really, really couldn't have said it better. And I remember I would look at Zackarian's Instagram and it would always say that in his bio, and I would like, and this is like I didn't see him for 2 years until I came to Arizona this weekend, and I check up on my friends all the time. Like I look and see what they're up to. Like it's not stalking if you actually care about the person. Like I don't know what's wrong with people these days when they like when you search someone's profile because you care about them and you want to see if they posted anything. Because I follow over 1,000 people on Instagram and I don't see most of the posts from the people I care about.
Yeah.
So I just look them up. Like, and I read his bio all the time and I'm like, what does that mean? And now I got a chance to like have a great conversation with him about it, and it hits. It really does hit. Like it's an essential phrase to live by, almost as important as spread love, knowledge, and positivity, and be fearless, limitless, and unstoppable.
Perfect.
With that, thank you for listening, and have a great rest of your night.